Antarctica suggest mega earthquake. Sean Adel-Tabatabai reports scientists detected various microwave waveforms coming out of Antarctica that they say could be a precursor to a megaquake. What we're viewing here is a second wave that occurred May 15th, 2017. The first one was April 2nd. On May 26, 2017, just a couple of days ago, Mimic caught a third mysterious wave beaming out of that region. And this is it here. As we can see, most of that wave is close to the San Andreas fault line, starting here in South America. If you make a line down into Antarctica, the path of the wave anomaly crosses the mysterious Princess Elizabeth Station, which is situated at the base of pyramid structures. This leaves us to guess if the wave anomalies are coming from this station or from an unknown source near the station. But one thing is for sure, something in that area is creating this anomaly which they shoot out into the Pacific Ocean. More specific, this anomaly is directed straight over or close to the Cascadia subduction zone, West United States. That's the area, of course, of the San Andreas Fault, California. Although the Cascadia subduction zone has not produced an earthquake since 1700, it's built upon pressure. It is building pressure where the Juan de Fuca plate is subsiding underneath the North American plate. This is where the geologists and seismologists are waiting for the big one to take place. Scientists are predicting that there is about a 40% chance that a megathrust earthquake of a 9.0 magnitude in this fault zone will occur in the years ahead. Although the Cascadia subduction zone has not produced an earthquake since 1700, it's building up pressure where the Juan de Fuca plate is subsiding underneath North America. Currently, there is no proof, but it looks like someone or something at Antarctica is manipulating or altering the weather in the Pacific Ocean region for whatever reason. You can see the embedded video below to show the latest wave anomaly caught on May 26, 2017. This is by Sean Adel-Tabatabai on your Newswire.
Moss tissue, and
do you know why traces of vegetation and microorganisms found in drilling in Antarctica are dated by scientists for the most part at least 40 million years old? Simply, that as long as they do not accept the theory of Charles Hapgood and Albert Einstein of the displacement of the Earth's crust, and confirmed by the message transmitted by the Great Pyramid of Cheops, which explains that the Antarctic continent has moved several thousand kilometers to the south, about 12,000 years ago. Scientists have only the choice to go back 40 million years with the theory of plate tectonics. For Antarctica to be at a good latitude, to be covered by lush vegetation. The theory of plate tectonics, which was, by the way, was completely rejected, is described as far-fetched by the scientific community of the time, and finally accepted only in 1960. We will show you in this video scientific evidence that the Antarctic has undergone a gigantic cataclysm, with titanic volcanic eruption and giant tsunami, following the displacement of this continent, which destroyed all the vegetation that previously existed and decimated the civilization that populated this land about 12,000 years ago.
Of ice on Earth.
The images you see come from a documentary about scientists doing research in Antarctica that you will find the link in the description of the video. In front of the cameras, this researcher takes a shovel and digs a few centimeters below the surface of the Antarctic, and watch what he discovers.
This is volcanic ash that erupted from a volcano and has been sitting there for millions of years. It shows no chemical alteration, which you'd expect if there were any amount of liquid meltwater over that duration. The fact that it's dry and pristine tells me it's always been here, which is incredible. This is volcanic ash that erupted from a volcano and is
A phenomenal quantity of volcanic ash in perfect condition, just below its surface, and which witnesses a huge volcanic eruption in a recent past. Now, in your opinion, at what depth the traces of vegetation were discovered? 400 feet? 900 feet? Or 4,000 feet? Here is the answer. We are now, with another group of researchers, on another part of the island. In front of the cameras, one of the researchers also digs a few centimeters below the surface of the Antarctic, and watch what he discovers.
Oh, a leaf. Is that a leaf? There's a leaf right there. Hey!
A leaf imprint in an extraordinary conservation state. But it is not finished.
sweet leaf.
And then they find something extraordinary.
This is like a peat moss. And then if we, tease some of this out, they're like freeze-dried.
Under the microscope, these brittle mosses are in pristine condition. These moss fossils are not rock, but actual plant tissue, the last vestiges of vegetation from a time when Antarctica was still warm. They were found under a layer of volcanic ash that
for even relatively short periods of time in this location. Otherwise, these things are gone.
now.
But there are not only plants, there are even pieces of trees.
A completely different picture. Exploring East Antarctica, closer to the South Pole, Andrew's David Harwood found leaf fossils and pieces of wood. Surprisingly, according to Harwood, these date to a relatively recent time, when Antarctica was not only warmer than today, there were plants and trees.
This is a piece of southern beech. This wood is not fossilized in the sense that it is petrified. It could still burn. To find the wood and leaves together is pretty phenomenal.
But above all, and which reinforce our theory of a violent cataclysm, is that this piece of trees is petrified. Now we go back to see the previous researcher and listen well what he says.
Actual plant tissue, the last vestiges of vegetation from a time when Antarctica was still warm. They were found under a layer of volcanic ash.
This was found under a layer of ash. This shows once again that Antarctic vegetation, formerly Atlantis, has been destroyed by an unimaginable cataclysm.
Which is incredible.
Right there. Hey!
We find something extraordinary, or in pristine condition.
Pretty phenomenal.
All this is nothing extraordinary if you stop to believe that it dates from millions of years. How is it possible to be as blind? But ancient maps, which date from before the official discovery of the Antarctic, clearly shows us the Antarctic to a position much further north, close to the African coasts, and without being covered with ice where appear mountains, hills, lake, and river, and even animals on a very rare map, which we will reveal to you in a few moments, and that very few people know.
Biri Reis haritası pek çok sıra dışı bilgi ve sırra sahiptir. Biri Reis haritalarında Grönland ve Antarktika'nın buzul altı topografik haritalarını da çizdi. Bu mucizevi bir detaydır. O dönemin teknolojisiyle buzulların altında gizlenen kara parçalarını görmek imkansızdı. Ve bu haritaların doğru olduğu 20. yüzyılda sismik teknoloji geliştirildikten sonra fark edilebildi. Biri Reis haritasında
There is not only the Piri Reis's map, there is also the Orens-Vines map, which dates from 153, which is even more detailed. And finally the map of Ferdinand Verbiest, edited in 1674 and offered to the Emperor of China, where the North America is under the ice, and the Antarctic populated by animals. We know by the Egyptian priests, reported by Plato, that those who survived the cataclysm were the men and women who live in altitude, at the top of the mountains. The names of these men have been preserved, but the recollection of their actions has perished in consequence of deluges, which have not permitted the subsistence of illiterate mountaineers. For the species which survived every time was, as I have said above, that of the mountaineers and illiterates, who knew only the names of the masters of the country, and knew very little of their actions. Now, if you look at a map of the Antarctic, where did you think the survivors moved? Obviously, South America was the only possible destination. And this solves one of the mysteries of the American settlement, because the Antarctic, located at the same time, near Africa and the South America, simply explains the history of the settlement of America. Without the need to cross the whole planet, passing near the North Pole, to reach the Strait of Bering. Now, second question, if you are a survivor of this cataclysm, where in South America will you naturally choose to take refuge? The answer is once again to show you that it was built by the survivors of Atlantis. Here is the photo of the walls of the city of Tiwanaku, which is visible in the video. Now an extract from a Platon, where he describes a particularity in the art of building of the Atlanteans. They pulled their stones from the periphery of the central island, and from under the walls, outside and inside, there were white, black and red. And while extracting the stones, they built double ponds dug in the interior of the ground and covered with a roof by the very rock. Some of these constructions were of one color, in the others they intermingled the stones in such a way as to make a variety of colors for the pleasure of the eyes, and thus gave them a natural charm. You will find all the additional information on our website, as well as in our last book, Pyramid Apocalypse. Think to share the truth about our history and pay tribute to those men and women who died during this terrible cataclysm. Thank you, and God bless you.